Welcome back. In this video, we'll learn about the tool named as Imputation inside Preparation tab in Alteryx. Now, the name is very difficult, Imputation. Initially, when I started learning this Imputation, it was difficult to understand because of the name. But in simple language, if I say, it is nothing but find and replace tool inside Alteryx. Find and replace. Now, what exactly find and what to replace? Let me show an example. We have this input data. If you see, it is the input data. We have the null rows, null columns. Okay, entirely we have. And if I scroll on the right hand side, some cells, if you see, there are some null values. These are numerical values which are null. Now, what we want to do is we want to find out the null values and replace with some average or some fixed value. Okay, how do I do that? So what I can do is I can drag this imputation tool and drop it here. And now the clean data, I want to connect this clean data in the sense null columns and rows have been removed. So I can connect the output of that to the input of imputation tool. You see, output of data cleansing to input of imputation tool. And when I click on run button, see what happens. That's the input data for the imputation. Let me click here. And if you see, there are 10,000 records. You remember we picked up and removed the null rows and the null columns. Now, carefully observe in the shipping mode, there are some blank cells. In the customer name, there are some blank cells. And if I scroll on the right hand side, I'll be getting some zero values as well. Okay, these are some zero values as well. So what I'll tell them that in the sales column, wherever there are zero, you have to replace with, let's say, average. Okay, how do I do that? I have to select the option named as sales from the left hand side. And I'll tell them the incoming value, that means find the value. So obviously null has been fixed. I'll tell them 0. So user specified value, I'll type as 0. Whenever you find the value as 0 in this particular sales column, you see, I want to replace with an average of that column. So you see the average is selected from here. Now my job is only to just click on run button. So I repeat, sales column, find the value given 0, replace the value with average. And when I click on run button, instead of giving 0 in every place, it has given me the average of the entire column in that cells. Okay, so very simple here. If I scroll down again, let me just move it here. And if I bring one more imputation tool, drag and drop it here. If I connect to the input data, okay, if I connect to the input data and if I click on run button. So here, if you observe, the input data is how many records? 10,008 records. Okay, directly connecting to input without any data cleansing. Now, here I'll tell them that in the shipping mode column, or let's say if I go back to the same column, sales column, earlier it was 0, now it is null. So I'll tell them whenever you find the value coming as null, you replace with an average value. Okay, but which column? Sales column here. So in the sales column, any null value which has been received has to be replaced with average. Selected this sales option, and if I click on run button, it has also capacity to replace null values. You see, the null values has been replaced. Same way, if I scroll on the left hand side and if I tell them in the customer name column, okay, so here for the textual column it would be difficult, but for the numerical column you can quickly get it. So if you observe carefully, customer name and the shipping mode columns are not mentioned here. So customer name and the shipping mode are not mentioned here. So this place will only consist of numerical columns, not the textual columns. So remember, only the numerical columns will be replaced here. Okay, that's it. So that's the output which you're getting. Now, sometimes you don't want to replace with an average. You want to replace with some median, some mode value, or some user specified value, let's say as 100. So any value which is given as null would be replaced with value as 100. And if I click on run button, and you can see the output would be given as 100 instead of 0. Okay, very simple, 100 value here. The other option is it will also give you the output. See, suppose if you get an output, how do you know that it has been replaced? There's no indicator, there's no option which is mentioned that this is not the original value, it has been replaced. So on the left hand side, if you see include imputed value indicator field. So if I select this checkbox and if I click on run button, so what it will do is it will give you some indicator on the right hand side. It's a sales indicator. Wherever you receive the value 1, that means it has been replaced value. It's not the original value. It has been replaced. And if you find the value 0, it will tell you these are the original value in the data set. So 1010 you'll be getting everywhere. And also if you want, you can get an output imputed values as a separated field. So I can select this checkbox, click on run button. And here on the right hand side, if you see, we have the original column named as sales and the new column sales imputed value. So you see, it has created separate columns as an output here. So this way you understand that this was the original value null and the replaced value is given as 100. Okay. So these two checkboxes also might be useful when you're giving the output. So in short, imputation tool, don't go with the name. It's nothing but finding and replacing a value with your defined value, anything. So that's it. I hope you have understood, and that's all for this video.